Let's get started with our first news. Robert Whittaker addresses the narrative that Leon Edwards is washed following his loss to Sean Brady over the weekend. On the latest episode of the MM Arcade podcast, Rob says he believes that Sean Brady was an extremely difficult matchup for Leon and adds that Belal Muhammad effectively laid the blueprint for defeating him. We, as we said in our predictions, came into it thinking, which Edwards are we going to see? And within about 30 seconds, I was like, this one. Yeah, right. And that's it. And it's got to the point, like, I don't like what the fans are saying. Now you see a post like, Edwards is now officially washed. No, dude, he's fighting the best in the world for one, so have some respect. But let's also look at Sean Brady. Leon Edwards versus Sean Brady is a match made in heaven. If you could draw up a character that you want to fight, someone that plays into your stylistic advantage, I think that's the fight to make. Brady is a nightmare matchup for Leon. He is relentless, constantly pressuring, and never lets his opponent breathe. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah, exactly what he said. Belal really highlighted the blueprint to beating Leon Edwards. But in saying that, so many people have done that before as well, giving him a hard time by pushing into his space, making him uncomfortable, and forcing him into positions where he can't fight at his best. Brady executed that plan to perfection. It was a short ticket. He was closing that space, walking him down, throwing unorthodox punches and bunches, mixing it up with clinches, and once he started establishing takedowns, the fight shifted entirely. The moment the threat of the open mat takedown was there, Edwards had no choice but to be on the defensive, and when Brady finally went for that first takedown, he didn't just attempt it, he executed it flawlessly. Once he got Leon to the mat, he controlled that fight so well. It was a complete shutout. Leon had no answers. Brady was in control, dominating from start to finish. It wasn't even close. So is Leon Edwards really washed? No, he's still one of the best in the division, but the game has evolved and fighters are figuring him out. Brady followed the blueprint and executed it better than anyone before him. That's why he got the win. So all these fans writing off Edwards need to take a step back and respect what he's done. But moving forward, he's gonna have to adapt because fighters are coming in with a game plan and they are executing it to perfection. Moving on to another news, Joe Rogan reveals sad news on Alex Pereira's injury during UFC 313. During Saturday's Fight Companion, with Joe Rogan live streaming UFC London, he revealed some shocking news about Alex Pereira and his health heading into UFC 313. Joe Rogan revealed that Alex Pereira fought Magomed with a broken hand and a virus. Now, here's what he had to say. In the second round, he gets rocked, and after that moment, he's just not the same. He became much more defensive, forgot the game plan, and kept his back to the cage. That wasn't the usual Pereira we've seen before, and now, apparently, they are going to run that rematch back. That's the big fight in that division, and if Pereira can come in healthy, things could be very different this time around. They're saying he fought with a broken hand and norovirus, but here's the thing, this is not even the first time he's fought with serious injuries. He fought with a broken toe when he beat Yuri Prochazka, and let's not forget, he had a messed up knee. Remember when he tumbled at the end of that fight? That wasn't just exhaustion, his knee wouldn't support him. He was basically fighting on one leg. And then of course he got surgery. If I had to guess, it was meniscus because he came back pretty quick. But man, he's too active. But here's why he's doing it. He's smart too, because he knows he's 36 or 37 years old. And in his mind, he's like, I gotta go, man. I gotta make as much money as possible. And guess what? He's done that. In just 3 years, he has become an all-time great. That's crazy. So now the big question is, does all of this explain Alex Pereira's performance at UFC 313? With everything aside, both fighters have agreed to fight again later this year. So who do you think would take the rematch? Let us know in the comments. Moving on to another news, is Ilia Topuria scared of a rematch with Volkanovski? That's what Paddy Pimblett seems to think. Recently, Pimblett claimed that Ilia Topuria is moving up to lightweight as a way to duck a second fight with Alexander Volkanovski. But here's the twist. The man whose reign was ended by El Matador doesn't seem to agree with that statement. So what exactly is Pimblett's argument? Well, according to the baddie, Topuria has vacated the featherweight crown because he got lucky when he bombed Volkanovski. Pimblett believes that Topuria was able to put away the legend because Volkanovski wasn't far removed from a knockout loss to Islam Makhachev. In his mind, that means Volk wasn't at 100% when he stepped into the octagon, and as a result, Topuria was able to capitalize on a compromised opponent. And now Pimblett is convinced that Topuria has realized this too and is running from a rematch. But what does Volk himself think about all this? During a recent interview with Sportsnet's Aaron Bronstetter, the former featherweight king was asked to weigh in on Pimblett's assertion, and here's what he had to say. I don't think so. He obviously wants to chase the lightweight title, and he's been vocal about that. I think he wanted to hang on to both belts, but I don't think that was going to be the case. So the fact that he's committed to moving up and vacating, I mean, the UFC will let him have that chance. I don't know, but I think they will. I think he's just trying to chase greatness, so I can't knock him for that. Hopefully, we could just make it happen further down the track. The rematch. Me, the defending champion, and if he is the champion or whatever it is, while I'm the champ, have the rematch then. So according to Volk, he doesn't believe Topuria is running away from him. He thinks the new featherweight champ is just trying to achieve greatness and cement his legacy by moving up a division. And to be fair, it is true that Topuria has talked openly about moving up to lightweight for quite some time now. But here's the big question. Does he really see a fight with Islam Makhachev as an easier scrap than a rematch with Volkanovski? That's up for debate. All that aside, Volkanovski will now focus on reclaiming the featherweight title at UFC 314 on April 12th when he takes on Diego Lopez. So what do you think? Is Topuria dodging Volk, or is this just part of his plan for greatness? Let us know in the comments. Moving on to another major news story. Could Conor McGregor really be facing up to 7 years in prison? The Irish MMA superstar has always been a polarizing figure, both inside and outside the octagon, but this time, he's facing a situation that could have serious legal consequences. Recently, reports have surfaced suggesting that Conor McGregor's aspirations of one day becoming Ireland's president may have hit a major roadblock. According to sources, the Director of Public Prosecutions, DPP, is currently reviewing McGregor's alleged role in inciting hatred during the infamous 2023 Dublin riots. The investigation revolves around a simple yet powerful 5-word post made by McGregor: Ireland, we are at war. The controversial post was made the night before widespread violent unrest broke out in Dublin's capital, leading to serious concerns about whether McGregor's words played a role in escalating tensions. A new report by the Irish Independent states that Gardaí from the National Bureau of Criminal Investigation have now compiled an extensive case regarding McGregor's actions and submitted it to the DPP. The goal? To determine whether McGregor's statement directly contributed to fueling tensions and unrest. If the DPP finds enough evidence to move forward with charges, the former UFC double champion could potentially be in some serious trouble. Under Irish law, inciting hatred is considered a criminal offense that carries a maximum sentence of 7 years in prison. This news comes at a time when McGregor has been openly critical of the Irish government, frequently accusing them of ignoring the voices of the Irish people. Over the past year, he has taken to social media to express frustration with the country's leadership, particularly regarding social issues, immigration policies, and public safety concerns. His outspoken nature has earned him both loyal supporters and fierce critics, but now it seems those very statements may have landed him in legal jeopardy. As expected, McGregor has not remained silent in the face of this latest controversy. He has continued to double down on his stance, arguing that he was merely speaking out on behalf of the people and that his words should not be misinterpreted as incitement to violence. However, with the DPP now officially reviewing the case, his fate remains uncertain. So, what do you think? Should McGregor be held legally responsible for his words? Or is this just an attempt to silence a public figure who isn't afraid to speak his mind? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Moving on to another news, Rashad Evans reflects on his fight with Jon Jones, calling it a valuable learning experience. The two faced off in 2012, with Jones securing a unanimous decision victory. Leading up to the bout, tensions were high due to their history as friends and former training partners. Rashad had parted ways with his longtime coach Greg Jackson before the fight, which left him feeling a sense of betrayal. Looking back, Rashad admits that fighting with emotion played a significant role in his defeat. That one right there, I would say, was probably one of the biggest learning lessons for me, because going into that fight, there was so much emotion. I was with Greg Jackson, and there was a sense of betrayal with the whole thing, him backing Jon instead of me. Greg and Mike Winklejohn were like family to me, and I had to leave my New Mexico team behind. It was tough. I had to keep giving the same sound bites over and over, and we did face-offs for months. It got personal, and at a certain point, it just drained me. I just wanted it to be done and over with. It wasn't just hype, it was real. It actually hurt me, and it happened during a time when my life was already in disarray. I was going through a divorce, through so many transitions, and then, on top of it all, I lost the team I thought was a band of brothers. That fight was hard, not just physically, but mentally. I wasn't able to divorce myself from the emotion. I found myself having almost a temper tantrum in the cage. I felt something I had never felt before in a fight. Usually, when the blows start coming, you wake up, you switch on, but this time, I just felt down. Even when I was losing other fights, I never felt like that before. But in this fight, I was mentally beating myself up. And a big part of that was because of the emotional weight I was carrying. I could hear them calling things out to him from the corner, and I was thinking, man, they're coaching against me. It was just a hard moment, but I learned a lot. I learned about being a true professional, about being able to separate emotions when it's time to get the job done. And most importantly, I learned to not take things so personal. It's one thing to use emotions to fuel yourself before a fight, but once you step into that cage, it's not about feelings. It's about execution. Moving on to another big story in the MMA world, Colby Covington has made some bold claims about the ongoing negotiations between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall. According to Covington, Jones is allegedly demanding a massive payday of anywhere between $40 to $50 million in order to step into the octagon against Aspinall. This eye-watering amount has led Covington to believe that Jones has no intention of actually fighting the interim heavyweight champion, and is instead looking for a way out of the division altogether. During a recent interview with Tim Welch on the Red Hawk Recap, Covington did not hold back when sharing his thoughts on the situation. He confidently stated that Jones would rather head into retirement than risk facing Aspinall in a potential heavyweight showdown. In his own words, Covington said, "Now how about Johnny Bones Jones versus Aspinall? I don't think Jon is fighting him. I think he's going to duck him and go into retirement." This statement has only added more fuel to the already heated debate about Jones's future. While Jones remains the undisputed UFC heavyweight champion, he has not defended his title since winning it against Cyril Gane at UFC 285 in March 2023. The long layoff has led many fans and analysts to question whether he truly intends to fight again, especially after suffering a serious pectoral injury that forced him to withdraw from his scheduled fight against Stipe Miocic at UFC 295. Meanwhile, Aspinall has been making a strong case for why he deserves a shot at the undisputed title. After securing the interim heavyweight belt with a dominant first-round KO victory over Sergey Pavlovich, the British powerhouse has repeatedly called for a fight with Jones, insisting that the division needs clarity. However, if Covington's claim is accurate, then it appears that Jones is making negotiations difficult by demanding a record-breaking paycheck. While Jones has always been a high-value fighter for the UFC, a $40 to $50 million demand is far beyond what most champions have ever earned. To put things into perspective, Conor McGregor, the biggest PPV star in UFC history, reportedly made around $20 to $25 million for his fights at his peak. So, what do you think? Is Jones really trying to avoid Aspinall by pricing himself out of the fight, or does he genuinely deserve that kind of money given his legendary status in the sport?